Hey everyone, James Azar here at the Atlanta Cybersecurity Conference with my good friend, one of my better friends, Dexter Caffey. What's up, Dex?
James, how are you?
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you so
Mazel
much.
tov.
Thank you. Corinne's sung it to me earlier. She sung it to me earlier.
I was in the car. I was singing it with her too.
Okay,
You didn't
okay.
hear me because her voice is so much better than mine.
That's funny.
Dexter is the CEO of Smart Eye Technologies, our longest supporter of this podcast. Thanks to him, we've been able to give you so much of this great content that you guys have been accustomed to. It's your first time doing a Friday wrap-up with me, Dex.
Yes, I'm excited.
I am too, and we're here at this conference. But, you know, looking at this week, ransomware still is a very, very big deal. What do companies really, can we stop ransomware, or is this just a new norm?
I think it's a new norm. However, I think that there are opportunities out there that I think some people may not be aware of that could actually help out in some of those areas. But I think it's a new norm, if you ask me, for right now.
It seems like it. It almost seems like ransomware is like a car accident. Like it's an inevitable part of business.
It will happen.
Right, like you own a car.
Right.
You're going to get into a car wreck
Right.
at some point.
Absolutely.
Like ransomware is just one of those. You know, it's interesting when you look at you know, the Walgreens situation. So Walgreens this week had this thing with their app where customers were seeing other customers' PII, but their HIPAA data, like we're talking medication, addresses, information, a real kind of AppSec development issue. When are we going to get security involved in AppSec where we're not producing these products that just don't work, that just create all these bugs?
That's interesting. I think sometimes when you look at security on mobile apps, I don't think people pay a lot of attention to them as they should. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing a lot of these situations happen, because if you had a strong focus on security when it comes to mobile app, and you know what we're doing as far as some of the things that we're doing. So I think paying a lot of attention to the security of the mobile app, I think to me is not necessarily always the highest priority of a lot of companies, believe it or not.
You know, it seems like sometimes security is chasing business rather than being a partner with business. And it takes almost a, you know, you speak to a lot of executives, obviously, as a CEO. Do you feel like chief executive officers or chief financial officers get the fact that security has to be a partner to business and not an afterthought?
I do think that they do think it's a part of the business, but I think sometimes when it comes to how much money is spent on something, that's where the line is drawn. It's all it goes back to money. If you spend too much money in this area, you're going to be questioned. Why are you spending that much on security? We want to spend that money in other areas. So I think if you look at the politics behind that too, I think that's one of the biggest things that people really don't pay attention to. But inside of corporations, there's a lot of political factors that cause people not to spend money on security when they really should.
Well, and a lot of times, you know, CISOs aren't able to really come in and deliver the right expectation for the business in terms of security, setting the right timeline, goals, budgeting, and so forth. I always say you don't need a lot of money to get security done right.
Right.
But you need to have a good plan with the money you have.
Exactly. And I think another thing, too, when you look at some of the turnovers with some of the CISOs, and I think that can cause some types.
26 months, man.
Yeah.
26 months.
So
That's
if you
the
have
average
turnover,
lifespan of a CISO.
if you have turnover every 26 months, it's very difficult to plan long term when you have that much turnover.
In sports, it's like firing your head coach every year.
Exactly. Yes. So that's why I say I think if we can kind of get some of the politics out of like paying for security as well as having a lower turnover ratio when it comes to these CISOs, I think you could probably start to see a little bit better security going around security around mobile apps, the cloud environment as well. But it's hard, really, I think, to see companies that you know that they should have certain things in place, but they just don't because of the politics as well as the high turnover when it comes to CISOs going to different locations. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things that I've seen as I talk to some of these executives that is a problem. You won't hear it too much in the general public, but behind closed doors, that's a problem.
It seems like, I mean, a lot has been said over the last few weeks around the lifespan of a CISO. Right? When the report came out, 26 months, people started saying, well, you know, CISO gets switched out more than socks at a C-suite, right? It just does. And when you think of all other C-suite, typically they get a 5-year reign, a 7-year reign. You know, you're given a chance to really right the ship because business processes take time. And with security, that doesn't seem to be the case. you come from a business background. You're not a security guy.
Absolutely.
Which is great, because when you look at this from a business background, do you think that's healthy for a corporation, or why do you think companies eliminate CISOs, or CISOs drop out so fast?
Well, I think it's a huge amount of pressure because, if something goes wrong inside the organization when it comes to that information being leaked, that's the first person to be blamed. You have to have a go-to to blame somebody, and that's usually one of the first people who are typically blamed.
Chief information scapegoat, chief internal scapegoat officer.
Absolutely. And so I think, and it's hard because when something happens inside an organization, everybody wants to put the blame on the reason why that happened, so that won't happen again that way. But that's not always the case. That it may happen again in a different way next time. It won't happen again the same way because, number one, things will be different and people will attack in different ways. So I think, if you take out a lot of that, again, politics, as well as when it comes to the money around putting money in security, then I think you'll see the game start to change, because a lot of these hackers, they know this already. They know this information. They understand that the lifespan of a CISO is, like you said, 26 months. Was it 26 months that you said?
26 months.
26 months on average, and they figure, and they'll wait out things, and they're smart enough to wait out things and play around with things, and they're patient to wait out things for the big catch.
Well, I mean, they always, they say an average cyber incident can sit in your network for 6 to 9 months before they even turn on the switch.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot to that.
So just think about it. If you have, let's say, a turnover that happened, the hackers know it's going to be some turmoil inside that organization that will give them time to quickly move in.
Absolutely.
Because they've got all that information. So they're going in and they're going to do their job. And that's insane, but that's the reality of the world that we live in right now.
That's the reality of being a CISO.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
It is.
You and I are flying to Israel tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Coronavirus and all.
yes. We're still going. We're corona-free.
Well, we're corona-free.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you look at the innovation that comes out of Israel, what do you attribute that to? What draws you to do this stuff in Israel?
Well, I think if you look at the mindset in Israel, just to give you an example, yesterday actually, I was reaching out to one of our people in our development team, and they actually responded back to me like at almost 1 o'clock in the morning their time. I mean, it's hard here in the U.S. to get people to work after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Let alone to respond to a question that you had at literally 1 o'clock in the morning their time. So I think if you look at the work ethic and if you look at the mindset, when I was in Israel a few months ago, one of the guys we were working with, it was his wife's anniversary. So it was around 8 o'clock at night. We were still working together. And I said, dude, I think you need to go home to your anniversary. Spend your anniversary with your wife. So my wife understands. So it's just
it's a different mentality.
It's a different mentality. I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but what I'm saying is that it's a certain work ethic that we don't have here in the U.S. that I think if you could see some of the innovation that's going on, it all revolves around your way of thinking, and I think that's the reason why we actually had our software created in Israel, because I didn't want no for an answer when I asked for something to be done.
Right.
I just wanted, okay, we'll figure it out and let's get it done.
Well, the answer is never no.
Absolutely.
I think also in security, I tell a lot of different security folks I speak with, no matter what level, never say no.
Right.
Say, let's figure it out.
Exactly.
Let's figure it out. We don't want to halt business.
Exactly. And I think that mentality, when it comes to how security is ran, it all plays in, because there's nothing that they feel like they can't be done. And when you deal with that mentality and you want to create something when it comes around security, it's going to get done. It may take some time, but it'll get done.
It will get done.
Absolutely.
It will get done. Dexter, thank you for coming on our Friday wrap-up, man.
Thank you for having me on. It's my first time here. I'm pretty excited to be with you, James.
Dude, I'm so excited that you came. You've been such a supporter of this podcast, and I'm always eternally grateful for your support. You were the first to take a risk on our show, and we're ever grateful for that.
Absolutely.
And your support, your generosity, and just your shining attitude. So here's the deal, guys. Next week, I'm going to be with Dexter in Israel. We're going to be talking from Israel every single day. And next Friday wrap-up also will be with Dexter from Israel. We'll go sit on the beach somewhere and talk cyber on the beach.
Absolutely.
And it'll be a blast.
Right. Exactly.
All right, guys. That's it for us here this week. We're wrapping up another busy week. We're at the Atlanta Cybersecurity Conference hosted by Data Connectors. Our first time working with these guys, and it's been absolutely great and amazing here. A big thank you to Don and Michael for having us in their facility and having us at their conference today. So much more next week from Israel. But until then, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. A lot more coming on Monday. Until then, stay cyber safe.